going to be prone to look good versus be good. And being good is where your self-confidence lies.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Real Estate Path. I'm your host, Jim Lee, and I'm excited to have you with us today. This podcast is all about a real estate investor's journey. It's not just the highlight reels. We're going to deep dive into the real raw road that a real estate investor must take in order to achieve their vision. Whether you're a beginner investor or a seasoned pro, we're here to provide the wins, losses, the lesson, and what it really takes to achieve success in real estate investing. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Christina Suter. Welcome, Christina.
Hi, Jim. It's good to be here.
Good to have you. So Christina and I have known each other for years. I first started volunteering for a real estate meetup called Phoebe Pasadena, which stands for Investor by Investor. There's not a single real estate mastermind conferences I've been to that I resonate the most with Christina's group. She's one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. Christina, can you please give us a little context and a background about yourself?
Okay, so on the note of compassion, I started investing in real estate over 35 years ago, as many of you guys know, and I've decided to stop counting at 35 years because I figured that marks me as old enough. I think the compassion part that's important is that I started doing personal growth work when I was 25, so I've been doing that for almost 30 plus years, and it's been central and cornerstone to my journey, to my conversation with people about real estate, to being a meeting runner, running Phoebe Pasadena, to having students, Jimmy being one of my students, which I think he'll let me claim him as one of my students, one of my mentees. Because being centered enough, I almost want to call it brave enough, to be able to invest in real estate, not as a sprint, but as a marathon, this being your career, it really takes a lot of grit. It takes the willingness to be right and the willingness to be wrong. It takes the willingness to be wealthy and the willingness to be a steward of your money and being quote unquote cautious or thoughtful about what you're choosing to do. There's so many elements in being a successful real estate investor that crosses right over, at least in my world, with psychology and just being brave.
You touch a lot about mindset, and I know you love talking about it, which is, yeah.
I do. I love talking about it. I do. Guilty as charged.
I do too, honestly. And I think mindset is something that a lot of people overlook, and they choose not to pay too much attention to it, especially in the real estate investing world. As an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that you need to get your mindset right in order to take the necessary step. Elaborate a little bit about that. Why is mindset so important?
So I tried to talk a little bit about that in the intro, but let me double down on it. When I have had deals not go right, I can almost always identify in there my ego. I like to look good. It was going to be something fun to talk about. Oh my God, look at how much money I was going to make. Instead of being grounded, gathering my data, staying true to the numbers, understanding my lane and understanding my capacity and my team's capacity. When I lose track of those basic core elements is almost always when a deal goes wrong. For me, mindset is getting the ego, the fear, the concern, I'll call it greed, and even the shiny object syndrome enough out of the way that what you're looking at is the deal and not looking at a lot of other thoughts about the deal. And when you test a deal, you want to be honest about testing it. Sometimes that's hard for me, I'll admit that. What's the upside potential? What's the downside potential? Do you make sure and check the downside potential of the deal? What does it mean if, and I've had these things happen, if you have a drug dealer living in the building that empties half of your building? What does it mean if you have the COVID show up and the permit office closes and it takes you 18 months to get permits and you're holding it up at $17,000 a month? What does it mean if your partner moves out of state and now all of a sudden you're the project manager? These are things that have actually happened in my real estate portfolio, and these are downsides I didn't test for. I didn't understand where my break-even point was or my loss point was. And being able to understand, like, no, this has to be this box, not just to hit the profit margin, but to hit neutral or to even be able to absorb the loss. So testing that downside potential is just as important as understanding the upside.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can definitely attest to that based on what happened with my previous deals.
We see that, right? We've seen that.
Yes. Yeah. Especially during a downturn, you learn from your mistakes and you learn to, okay, next time I definitely need to stress test this deal even more, even further. Right?
Even further.
Yeah. So you've been a real estate consultant and you mentor people.
I do.
And you get joy out of that. What is the most common mindset problem that you've come across when you've worked with so many people?
Okay, so I've literally logged thousands of hours of working with clients and being a consultant. So I'm a real estate investment advisor, which is an unusual little box. There aren't very many of us. There are a few of us. We're closer to a wealth coach than necessarily just a real estate coach. So I work with mid to high net worth individuals and families, specifically looking for how they can use their real estate to fulfill their purpose and passion in their lives. That's the focus of my work: purpose, passion, real estate. Kind of in that order. What I see is the thing that's primarily in the way is not necessarily lack of experience, because lack of experience will make people hesitant and will allow people to drive themselves forward to being educated. So lack of experience is one of the things I specialize in. I get a lot of people like, oh, I just sold my business. I now have $3 million. I want to invest that in real estate, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, you're great. Come on in. Like, lack of experience is great in my world. It's not lack of experience. It's the bipolarity of the fear or the bipolarity of the greed. So greed on one side, fear is on the other, right? So if I stand in that bipolar stance, that's going to stop me from taking the time to make an informed decision, right? That informed decision being the thing that is the groundwork of being a long-term successful investor. So shiny object is almost a version of greed. It's also a version of overwhelm, but that overwhelm's easy to answer with information and data. The greed is actually the harder thing to get out of the way. I use greed probably as an over description. It's not greed sometimes. Sometimes it's just like, I'm just so excited. Oh my God. I'm so excited. And that excitement stops the data from making sense. Yeah. So I actually don't see fear as the primary reason people don't invest when they come to me. But in my meeting attendees, in my meeting membership at Phoebe Pasadena and ITI, I see fear as being the thing that stops them from moving forward. That stops them from meeting with me. That stops them from joining the volunteer team. That stops them from doing the networking. We set up networking intentionally, thoughtlessly. We're like, network, will you network more, please? Because your network is your net worth. How you treat your network is your net worth. Every deal comes from another human being. Your network is central to your capacity as an investor. Right? The fear is what stops them from getting forward to the point where they need somebody like me. So that's where the fear usually shows up.
Yeah. So elaborate on that. Why do you think that is? Because when I first started...
Go ahead. Tell your story, Jim.
When I first started, I attended your meetup for the very first time in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And I was hiding in the back room. I was an introvert. I identified myself as an introvert.
No.
And so I didn't talk to anybody. And I had this imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't worthy enough to speak to someone who was as successful as you and Bronson. So that was what's going through my head at the time.
Right.
But I just knew to show up. That's
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because to me, showing up is half the battle.
It is.
So I wanted to ask you, why is it so difficult for people to push themselves, put themselves out there and to get more exposure, build connection, establish relationship, and get people's help?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Get help, because help, network, and information are the things that make you successful. And help isn't hard. You ask for it. Network isn't difficult. You go to real estate meetings. Right? I always encourage at least one meeting a week. One meeting a week. That's 4 meetings a month. Right? Get permission from your wife, your husband, or whoever it is you live with to go, hey, one night a week, I'm not going to be around. Can we make this part of the schedule? Right? And help, network, and information. Information, YouTube University, guys. I started before YouTube University. I am that old. YouTube University makes all the difference in getting access to information. Then all that becomes experience when you actually move forward. Fear. Let's see, fear of losing money, which has to do with lizard brain, stops us from wanting to lose money, and that's a problem, the fear of losing money. That is a fear. The fear of looking bad, the fear of feeling like a failure, fear of making a wrong decision, the fear of getting overwhelmed. I have that fear, I'll claim that one. The fear of getting overwhelmed. The fear of just getting it wrong. I mean, how many years have we spent as students? Especially the more and more years you spent in college. Like I have a bachelor's and a teacher's credential and a master's, so I have a lot of extra years in college. My husband has a PhD. He's even more afraid of making mistakes than I am. But those are all fears. Those fears all boil down to, in my mind, and being an introvert. Right? Just the pure fear of, oh my God, I got to talk to people. My daughter does that regularly. People, oh my God. Just think, don't make me people today, Mom. All those fears, I think, boil down to, and can be mitigated by, let's put it this way, can be mitigated by showing up, being willing to talk to some people, being willing to get informed and educated. When you feel like you have a little bit of understanding, a little bit of mastery, a little bit of traction, that traction doesn't necessarily start with your first deal. It can start before your first deal. When you layer yourself with these things that make you successful, that's when you're more likely to say, okay, I can move forward. Analysis paralysis is often almost in my mind, is being unwilling to take other people's help. Because you can analyze the crap out of things, but if you get a brainstorming in there, you get a mastermind in there, and they help you work out a plan, you start to get excited about the plan, then it's like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this. I've had other people look at my plan. They've confirmed for me I could do this. So fear makes sense, but it's not necessarily something you can't, I don't want to say get over, almost evaporate, because you're layering yourself with the systems of success, right? Whether that's using your network, getting yourself educated, going back and doing the analysis, and then there's all the other things you can do for personal growth, whether it's I am statements, meditation, prayer, you pick it. There are all these other things you can do, which you know about, in order to actually accelerate you, which accelerates your path.
Yeah, absolutely. So touch upon a lot of great things, which is everything that we teach within our community, ITI, Investors Investor.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that. Why did you decide to start this meeting? This is another group.
When I already had one.
Yeah,
right.
Phoebe. And the programs, the leadership program, within the program, you guys are focused on developing people to become a leader.
Yes.
And so what is that all about?
All right, I can make it long or short, and I'll try to give you the slightly shorter version. Phoebe Pasadena, the Phoebe brand, isn't my brand. It's a brand I share with other people. But I started under that brand intentionally because there was low sales, basically low sales. Because there wasn't a lot of sales. We weren't trying to force people into our programs. We wanted to educate people, and we wanted to encourage networking, because those are the things that you need to be successful. Your network and your education. Like, if I said this enough, right? So I love the Phoebe brand. Like, I really love the Phoebe brand. I am connected to, and I have had my Phoebe meeting for over almost 12 years now. But in the Phoebe brand with the no sales, it made it harder for me to do an educational arm, because I need to be able to sell to get people to move from my meeting into an educational element. And then when Steve called me and said, hey, Christina, let's start a educational arm, I'm like, I've been doing education through my consulting work, but I'd rather be able to do it through a meeting, through a bigger brand. And Steve and I agreed to make this bigger brand. Bronson was involved at the time, and then Bronson chose to step down. He's building his mastermind a different way than the way Steve and I wanted to build ours. Fine, not a problem. Bronson and I are still in Bronson's mastermind. He's still a friend of mine. We're still engaged. I like real estate, and I'm competent at it. Let's just say I'm competent. I've seen people more competent than I have seen people less engaged than I am. I'm competent at real estate, but what I'm passionate about, what I love, what makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose on the planet is helping people grow, period. Creating transformation, abundance, and freedom for myself and for others is the most satisfying thing I know how to do. And real estate aligns with abundance. And being good in real estate aligns with transformation. And when you have abundance, you have transformation, you get freedom naturally. Teaching my students this, it's satisfying to me. That's why ITI. That's why the classes. That's why we do what we do. That's why the leadership program, so that you learn to take leadership in your life. The advanced leadership program, so you're now learning to take leadership in a larger community. And the Shape Your Future, so you really implement those personal growth skills to really shore up your personal self-confidence, to know that you're a leader and that you can push other people forward beyond yourself. And of course, we teach real estate programs as well.
Of course, right?
Right, Real Estate 101, cash flow investing, out-of-state investing. We'll have guest instructors show up. Carmine showed up, and I want to get Derek there. Carmine Sabatella and Derek, and Bronson has even been a guest investor. We invited him to come back to be a guest instructor, so that they can teach things like capital raising and high-end flipping, things that Steve and I are not experts in.
Great. So that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how I came up with my mission, which is to cultivate a collaborative community that inspires transformation, freedom, abundance through authentic connection and partnerships. You can hear everything was just talked about by her. So it's very clear that she has been my advisor for the past few years, and I've learned everything I could possibly about building community through Christina over here. I want to ask you a great question, follow-up question to that is,
sure.
By building this Phoebe, building ITI, building these communities, what type of momentum have you seen that you're able to build for yourself?
No, I love that. I love that, because here's the advantage I've gotten out of it. When I was running Phoebe Pasadena, I'm just going to be transparent. Usually I'm one of the more directed and involves people in real estate in the room. Half the room isn't investing yet. They're looking for how to invest. A quarter of the room, maybe they're already professionals in the field. And then another quarter of the room might be people who are doing some investing. Maybe they are investors. But when I was running most of my communities and being the biggest person in the room, if you want to call it that, or among those people, I wasn't getting as much momentum. So being willing to start ITI with Steve, with myself, with Bronson, with other people in the community, going to bigger conferences, joining bigger masterminds. Now I have momentum. Now that I'm in the same accountability calls that my students are in, that you're in, when I'm having to do the same accountability, not just me with me, but me with somebody else, even my students, it's like, well, yeah. Okay, did I really do that deal? Did I really show? I mean, me just being in a group with accountability made me move forward, and I've gotten more momentum. The fun part is I'm now investing with my students, like you. I'm now investing in larger deals because I now have a team underneath me, people who want to be my team, people who want to engage, people who I've already trained, already have the philosophy, already understand what's our true purpose, which isn't just money. Money is a tool for greater freedom. Now I have people underneath me, and I can take on bigger deals. I was in Indianapolis previously. Now I'm in Indianapolis and Tulsa. I was in single families. Now I'm in single families and I'm buying multifamilies. I just closed 3 days ago on 2 more multifamily units. I'm looking at another one in Indianapolis. I think I finally found one in Indy. And Jim and I are looking at a much bigger deal than I would have done. See, 119 doors plus 161 doors together that has a huge amount of vacancy. They're each 80% vacant. They require a huge amount of work. But because I have this team, this network that I belong to, where I'm not just the only leader in place, I have other leaders, other people who are developing to be leaders. My real estate portfolio is accelerating. Steve's real estate portfolio has accelerated. We as leaders are accelerating because our students are accelerating. And we're accelerating because we're just in a community. It's cliche-ish. We're in a community of like-minded individuals.
There you go.
Right? It's a cliche now, but it is accurate, and it's accelerated my investing as well. So thank you for helping me accelerate my investing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've been a big part of that.
Big time. A couple years ago when I first met you, and we talked a little bit about real estate syndication, and you told me, no, there's no way I'm going to get into it.
There's no way I'm ever going to syndicate. No, not a chance. Nope, right. I can eat my words. Here we go. It's okay. Give me a plate. I'll eat my words. Yep.
But fast forward to today, it's so great to see you step out of the comfort zone and basically take on something that you didn't think was possible, but now you're very passionate. You want to get involved, and we're doing our due diligence. It's just fascinating to see that.
The momentum we've built, it is 2 things. It's being around other people who can be role models for me. Those are the masterminds I have joined and the masterminds I've helped create. And being surrounded by people who are students who I already like and trust. We talk a lot about getting other people to know, like, and trust us. I'm sorry, but I found one of the benefits is I'm surrounded by people I know, like, and trust. They're my community. They're my basis. I know, like, and trust you, Jim.
Thanks.
I trust us to do a project together. I trust who we're going to be together. That is more than 50% of the success of the deal. People are more than 50% of the success of the deal. And after 35 years of investing and more, I have learned that people have been the primary fault point in most deals.
Yeah.
So I am know, liked, and trusted. And it creates a harmony where we can actually create bigger deals. And now I can see myself as a syndicator with team members like you guys, my students, and you, and other people I've worked with in my mastermind being with me, supporting me, educating me. Right? I'm getting more mentors because of what I'm doing, and I have more mentees because of what I'm doing. Being part of this chain, this longer chain, it's given me more bravery, just sheer bravery. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those listening, especially for beginning investors looking to get their first deal going or starting real estate business off the ground, what advice do you have for them if they're seeking for a potential partnership, but they're risk averse? They don't know how to vet a partnership. They don't know what it's like to be in a partnership. Some of them might not be willing to take that risk just yet.
I don't blame them. I've taken a lot of risks in my career, and that risk tolerance keeps growing.
Yeah. So how do you get people to know, like, and trust you in a short period of time, I guess, like whether it's to join a mastermind, join a community, and
join a mastermind, join a community, show up, and honestly, be a person of your word. So your word and your integrity are the things that you have, and that's part of what we really focus on in ITI is being of your word and your integrity. It's hard because when you're used to hiding, or you have shame, or you're still comparing yourself as if you're a student to some big teacher that you're failing or succeeding against, when you're still playing that game, you're going to be prone to withdraw, and you're going to be prone to not communicate. You're going to be prone to look good versus be good. And being good is where your self-confidence lies. It's not in the look good. Trying to look good actually erodes your self-confidence. I've personally learned that lesson. It's the being good. Be of your integrity. Be of your word. Do your work in the morning so that you are grounded in yourself. Did your integrity, do your to-do list, and do that in a way that is 50% believable and 50% beyond yourself, because that's how you push yourself forward. So know, like, and trust is a two-way street. And when you're going to do partnerships, it's know, like, and trust on both sides. When you're trying to get people to invest in something, then you don't need to, quote unquote, know, like, and trust them as much, like a lot of capital raisers. They need to know, like, and trust me as the capital raiser. That's what's going to have them invest in the deal. That's true. But as a syndicator, you need to be able to understand who your investors are. And that was why I was unwilling to syndicate for so many years. So there's even teams, you got to know, like, and trust both directions, both ways. Capital raisers, maybe you don't have to know, like, and trust your investors as much just to be raw, but you still want to know who they are. You still want to be engaged in who they are, and you want to understand them. And especially as a mentor, then you want to find mentors you know, like, and trust. But the joint venture, it's like a marriage. You've got to be willing to hang out with each other for a while and trust each other to be somebody who's going to show up for each other. And the deal. Did I answer that question?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
I do have a follow-up question, though. It's a
Please.
little tricky question. What
Okay.
about your clients? Like you mentioned, if you're a capital raiser and you're raising money from investors, do you have to be selective with your investors, or do you just raise any money that you can get from any investors? Because
Please be selective with your investors.
very good.
And I know how fragile they are, whether they're fragile financially or whether they're fragile in their personalities. Just to be raw, I know how fragile they are. I'm very careful about where I put them. I'm very careful about where I place their money. They trust me as a private equity investor. And I'm very careful about which projects I put them in, because I do not have any interest in upsetting their world or putting them at risk that they can't manage. So knowing your investor at least enough to know, can they actually authentically manage this risk that you're putting them in? If you're a capital raiser across multiple deals, this deal may not be right for them, but this deal might be perfect for them. This type of being secured to the deal, being an LP investor, being a loan, doing a loan against the deal instead, or being preferred equity, those all have different levels of risk and return. I have one client who I've invited her to be in equity position only once, and the rest of the time, she's a lender. And that's the right place for her. She understands the risk of it. She gets what she needs. She gets the cash flow. I always make sure she gets her principal back. I have absolutely had losing projects and replaced people's principal 100% out of my own pocket. I have done that. I can't promise to keep doing that, but I know that in my past, I can say I've never had anybody lose a piece of principal dollar because I have replaced it or made sure the project worked. That's me. That's just what I've done today. But let me be really clear. That's not a guarantee, and I'm not promising to do it moving forward.
So you haven't lost anybody's money?
I've lost people's money.
Oh, you have? Okay.
And I've made them whole. But let's be clear, right? I have lost people's money. I've had projects that lost all the way up to my biggest was $350,000 that I had to replace.
Can you share that story with us?
Sure. So South Pasadena. So it was a flip in South Pasadena, and some people who know me may recognize the story. So it just is what it is. So I will change names to hold the innocent.
Go for it. Yeah,
Right.
no worries.
Okay, so South Pasadena. So I invested in a cute little house in South Pasadena that already had a building behind it that was already had a kitchen and a da-da-da, but it was not an ADU because it was not permitted as an ADU. Financed the house 100%. So the down payment was from a private investor. The purchase loan was from a hard money lender. The VHAB budget was from a hard money lender. I knew that I had to put some of my own money in order to support the interest on the VHAB, the hard money loan. So I knew I had to do that. And that was my money in the deal. So I had money in the deal, but I financed it 100% at the time of purchase, right? So COVID started. We were supposed to permit the ADU as a way of getting the greater value out of the building. And a couple things happened. We did not choose to go for the ADU because we were concerned that COVID was going to have the world fall apart, the real estate world fall apart, not grow. That was one decision we made. We chose to raise the roof in the second floor of the primary building, which was expensive and stupid, just to call it what it is, right? And we really did have permitting problems associated with COVID itself. At the end of the day, we lost $350,000. Also, my project manager left midstream. I think it's this one. She was about to leave. The focus slipped. And so between those four things, at the end of the day, when we sold it with the unpermitted ADU in the back still, so it wasn't permitted, so therefore the value didn't increase as much as our projections that we're counting on, it was a loss. And I never told my private investor it was a loss. I simply said, look, there isn't any profit there, right? Here's your principal back. And just gave it, made that person whole. And I think the reason why I care about that is because it's my integrity at the end of the day. It's my brand. It's my relationship with myself. It's my own bravery. I feel like if I had chosen to not make that person whole, not only is it my brand, Christina didn't make somebody whole, it's, can I ask for money again later? For me. inside of me can I ask for money from somebody else, knowing I've lost $350,000 and I didn't make it okay. It also taught me that when I do deals, whether it's with syndicators as an LP, when I'm the LP, or whether it's joint partners, follow the money. Because if you're doing a syndication deal where there's no pockets behind the syndication deal, just to be transparent, there's no pockets behind the syndication deal, what are they going to do when there's a $300,000? Are they going to immediately go to a capital call, or are they going to be able to say, no, we've got a $300,000 of our own, we're going to do a capital call, but we're doing half of it ourselves, right? It raises the conversation when you're continuing to play in the deal with your investors. And that's why you hear me say on some of the deals we do, how often have you heard me say, hey, I'm the pockets behind the deal. We need to make sure this works, because I am the pocket behind the deal. I literally mean that. If this goes south, I'm going to do my best. Cannot promise. It may not happen. As the deals get bigger, it gets harder, but I'm going to do my best to try to make them as whole as I can. And that's me. And I also know the bank is going to look at me. I went through 2007, 8, and 9. I know what happens when the bank looks at you. I've been there.
Thanks for sharing that vulnerably to our audience. I think it's such a powerful thing to always have extra cash reserves, right? Especially during downturns. You'll hear this from anybody, from any real estate investors, syndicators, short-term rental, mid-term rental. So yeah, it's a very powerful concept, but I think that's something that we don't account for, because in the real estate world, we always look at
positive, the upside. What's it going to be?
It's going to appreciate. It's only going to go up.
Real estate always goes up, doesn't it? No, actually, real estate goes down, but it only has gone down 6 years out of the last 30 plus years, but it does go down.
It does.
It does go down. I burned through $450,000 in cash in the 2007, 8, 9 downturn. I thought $500,000 would be enough, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Just to call it.
I know. Yeah, I learned it the hard way too. Through this current downturn, because of my syndication deal, I had to go through a capital call. And just like you said, I think the idea of losing money for my parents and my best friend who invested into the deal, it's like I can't fathom that. And so to make them whole, but it makes myself whole as well.
That's right. It does, doesn't it?
It does,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
That I'm going to somehow still contribute and pay them back the loss eventually. But I didn't think that ahead, right? I didn't have reserves like you did sitting in the bank. And that's the big mistake I made. But moving forward, now I know that's the mistake I had. So definitely cash reserves, guys, pay attention.
Cash reserves, yes. Can we say it loudly enough? Cash reserves.
Yeah, for any business.
Reserves. Yeah, for any business. Yeah, I mean, I used to be, my history is I'm a small business management consultant. So that's why I started in 2000, was with that. So real estate is a business. It involves a widget called real estate, but it is a business sitting on top of it. That business can be simple. I'm going to rent out units to somebody and I'm going to collect the rents. And if they call and there's a problem, I'm going to try to fix that problem. That's a very simple business. Or it can be a very complex business. We're doing elderly care. We're doing a VA facility. We're doing multiple units. We're rehabbing something that has a high level deferred maintenance to it. And we have to do as much deferred maintenance as the purchase price, right? That's what we're looking at. It is a business that you're managing. I think that it's important that sometimes I think people lose track of that concept, that it is a business. It's an income and expense with a P&L.
What advice would you have for the audience who are looking to get into real estate and they're not too sure if they should develop their entrepreneur's skill set first before getting into it, or should we just dive into it? Because what I'm seeing a lot, especially through the people that come into my community, is that I want to get into real estate investing. I want to invest now, but I don't know how to get started.
So started is, to me, simple. I'll give you a formula for it. 6 months of going to one meeting a week. Pick 4 meetings, because it's usually one meeting a month. You're now going to the same meeting for 6 months. So pick 4 meetings you really relate to. Develop your community while you're there. Collect cards. Yes, talk to at least 3 people a night. Collect cards and phone numbers. And then make notes on, do I like this person? Are they a da-da-da-da? Pick your da-da-da-da. Right? Be honest with yourself. These are people you need to know, like, and trust. These are people you're going to buy a car together, right? It's like that. Like, gee, would you sign on somebody else's car loan? You know, if you're going to do that, you need to know, like, and trust them, right? Think about how many times you've been that good of friends with somebody that you would sign on their car loan. And over time, you're going to also learn. So you're getting yourself educated by going to these meetings, and take on YouTube University. Another hour or 2 above going to the meeting. YouTube University in an area you think you're fascinated about. Something that's your current shiny object. And after like 3 months, 3 hours, 6 hours, be accurate, 3 hours, 6 hours of looking at that, is that still your shiny object? Is that still what you want to do? Like, let's get real. In about 6 months, you'll have 3 things. You'll be educated, you'll have access to a community, and you'll have a network of people you are starting to know, like, and trust. people who can invest with you or people you can do joint ventures with. That's the 6 months of getting started. The last piece is then you seek mentorship. People are so much braver when they have somebody else checking their numbers. It's just like, whether it's a facilitator at one of the meetings you go to a lot, or whether it's just a cool dude you talk to in the corner who said, yeah, I'll look at those numbers anytime. Or whether it's me, or whether it's you, because we both run meetings. Yeah. Get somebody else to review your deal. It'll make you so much braver.
That is excellent. Everyone should listen to Christina Suter here.
Thank you.
All those are some excellent, actionable steps that anyone can take and become successful if they are just disciplined and consistent enough, right, to do the work. Right. Yeah, so we're coming to a close. I wanted to ask you one last question, Christina. What is the purpose? What does all this mean to you? I mean, at the end of the day,
of course you're gonna ask that question.
I love being out on the trip with you to Tulsa with your daughter.
Yes, with my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome kid.
She was so good, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Oh my God. She actually did the whole first day with us reviewing this building. Yeah. She's like, okay, this is what I know how to do, Mom. I'm like, that's great. Keep making notes. Keep making notes.
So how proud are you? I mean, just being a mom and looking at her actually learning about real estate, taking it serious, asking you questions. You know, they say teach them young. So the purpose.
Let me answer both.
Go ahead.
So first, let me answer about my daughter. So let me be very clear. My daughter is probably not going to be a professional real estate investor. She wants to be a biologist. Science is her passion. And I really want her to do her passion, not mine. My job as a loving adult, like literally as a loving mother, I want to help my daughter discover and fulfill her purpose. So it's not about me. Real important. As far as I'm concerned, my daughter is a rock star. Glenna is absolute rock star. I've seen her walk through some really hard paths. I've seen her show up for herself and for her community, her friends. I've seen her beat herself, which is all kinds of things at 9, 12, or 15, right? And yet I know that she has a good heart. When something, she crosses a line somewhere, she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cross that line. What's important is the good heart. That's what's going to lead her in whatever her passion is. That's what's going to have her be the good human being in what her passion is. So I'm incredibly proud of my daughter, if I haven't said that loud enough. The other piece is that I feel like my purpose on the planet is what I said. Transformation, abundance, and freedom for myself and others. It is my greatest passion. And I use almost everything in my life to fulfill that, whether it's being a teacher, being a mentor, being a parent, running my meetings, doing my real estate investments, being a consultant. It's all based in how can I create more of freedom, abundance, clarity, and joy for myself and for others. And I get a lot of joy when I get to help others do that. So I've spent a lot of years cultivating who I am and how I want to be on the planet, intentionally, consciously, thoughtfully. And my projects in my life are based in that philosophy and have been for over 20 years. And I've cultivated my life to fulfill that.
Yeah, I think everyone on this planet should be doing that. We should all be self-reflecting more. So thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate you sharing with us on this podcast show.
How can people find me? So I run 2 meetings a month, which is the easiest way to find me is Phoebe Pasadena. You can go on Meetup or you can go on YouTube. We have lots of videos on YouTube, I think over 7 years now, meetings on YouTube. You can find it on Instagram and all the other platforms. You can also find ITI, right? Investor to Investor, which is the other meeting. I run the Glendale meeting. Jimmy runs the City of Industry meeting. We have more meetings that are opening up regularly. We have in El Monte already with Rudy. Those are easy. You come to them, you meet me, you find me, you engage with us. It's easy. But if you want to talk to me, Christina Suter. Suter is S-U-T-E-R, ChristinaSuter.com. Very easy there. Or my phone number, the human to human, right? 310-463-5942. 310-463-5942. Please text me and let's set up a phone call. Do you know how rare it is that people actually text me off of these? Very rare. So I challenge you, if you feel called, if it's clear for you on your path to talk to me, don't hesitate. Send me a text. That's how you move forward.
That's gold, guys. Reach out to Christina. She's willing to help. She's been super helpful within our community. So it's a gift that she's giving you your phone number. But yeah, this concludes another episode of The Real Estate Path. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.